Everybody, Rich with PrepU down here in the bunker. Welcome to the video that is going to explain to you, if you don't already know, the differences between Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day, and Women's Veterans Day. So I'm glad you're all here. I don't know why I paused there for a second. I'm glad you're all here. I hope that you pass this information on to your family and friends and coworkers. And when somebody says something that isn't true, you go, oh, wait a second. I have a very reliable source that tells me that's not true. This is true about Veterans Day, Armed Forces Day. It's really quite simple. I'm going to do something very unusual. Normally, when the main topic of whatever you're talking about comes up, you hold that to the last. You know, it's kind of like in a card auction. You know, you got that Connor Bedard Blackhawks rookie card sitting up there on the wall, and everybody's going, I want to bid on that. I want to bid on that. They save that to the very last, especially when people start saying, when is it? When are you going to bring that up? How much is it? What do you want for it? They hold that card to the very last. Well, I'm not going to hold the information to the very last. What I'm going to do is I am going to tell you the differences between Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day, and Women's Veterans Day. And then I invite you to stick along with us to pass that and learn a little bit about how Veterans Day and Memorial Day came to be. All right. I invite you to stay. It's very good information. But here is the crux of what I want to tell you guys today. All right. Veterans Day honors all veterans that served in our armed forces during war and peace times. Veterans Day, it's your time to go out there and thank a vet. A lot of restaurants, a lot of different places. Um, they have free food, special offers for our veterans, and they all deserve it. They really do deserve it. But that's what Veterans Day is, as compared to Memorial Day, and this is where they get it wrong. A lot of people honors those that died while serving our country. Okay, that's the difference. Veterans are alive. People that you honor on Memorial Day died protecting our country. Then we are at Armed Forces Day. Okay, so Armed Forces Day is we honor those that are right this minute, right now, serving our country. Okay, veterans, they're out of the military, they're done, still hanging around. Thank them on Veterans Day. Armed Forces Day is the day you thank our currently serving military personnel. And then now this day I had never heard of before until doing a little bit more research. If you had seen some of my other videos on Veterans Day and Memorial Day, you never heard me talk about this one. Women's Veterans Day. Okay. It is observed in several states to honor the women who have served. Don't know why. On Veterans Day, we honor the women just as much as, you know, we honor the men and stuff like that. But hey, some states are doing it that way. I'm not really sure why. So that's it in the crux. All right, that's it. That's how easy it is. So when somebody on Veterans Day said, "Wow, you know, I'm sorry that your brother or your husband or your sister died. You know, we really honor them today." No, we honor them on Memorial Day. If you have somebody in your family or somebody else's family that is a veteran that has served in our nation's military, that's what Veterans Day is for. It's to honor the veterans, and Armed Forces Day, currently serving military. We thank them on that day. It's to honor them. Now, some say we should have more than one day for them. It should be a whole month for all these people. Hell, we should honor these people every single day of the year, as far as I'm concerned. And most of us do. Whenever we see a vet, we say thank you. Whenever we see a service personnel, we say thank you. We say thank you to police officers. We also say thank you to firefighters. And there's a whole bunch of other people that we should thank. But that's not what this video is about. So that's it. If you just wanted to get a short, quick synopsis of what these days are about, there you go. Before you go, I want to say thank you. But would like you to stick around because a lot of people don't know the history of these days. And the history of these days is very, very interesting as far as I'm concerned. So, since it is Veterans Day on Monday, let's talk about Veterans Day first. So, Veterans Day originated as Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919. That was the first anniversary of the end of World War I. Congress passed a resolution then in 1926 for an annual observance, and November 11th became a national holiday beginning in 1938. All right, unlike Memorial Day, and it says here again, veterans pay tribute to all American veterans, living or dead, but especially give thanks to living veterans who served their country honorably during wartime or peace. Okay. Veterans Day occurs on November 11th every year in the United States, and 2 minutes of silence happen on November 11th on the 11th hour because that's when the armistice was signed. Okay, 2 minutes of silence. All right. Great Britain, France, Australia, and Canada also commemorate the veterans of World War I and World War II on or near November 11th. Canada has Remembrance Day, while Britain has Remembrance Sunday, the second Sunday of November. Okay. So veterans today, the military men and women who served and protected U.S., come from all walks of life, as we know. And, you know, a lot of them are very quiet about their service. Some are very proud. You know, they wear their, you know, they've got hats or they have jackets or whatever. But they should be proud because they gave a portion of their lives to protect this country, which was very important. Some facts about Veterans Day that you may not know. Did you know when you write Veterans Day, you don't add an apostrophe between the N or the S, all right? Because nobody owns Veterans Day. It's a day for veterans, plural, okay? And you don't put a hyphen, it's not unhyphenated S either. Because, like I said, this day does not belong to veterans. It's to honor veterans. All right, so Armistice Day was changed to Veterans Day on June 1st, 1954, at the urging of Vietnam veterans service organizations to honor all veterans of all wars. Okay, because before that, it just basically honored World War I veterans. Okay, then in 1968, with the Uniform Holiday Bill, it was changed to the fourth Monday in October. That's so people could get their 3-day weekend. The biggest problem is caused confusion and it upset a lot of veterans because the day was very important. Obviously, today there's not many veterans from World War I, or if any, and we're losing a lot of our veterans from World War II. But it upset them because it was specifically tied to the signing of the armistice. So then, on September 20th, 1975, President Ford signed into law Public Law 94-97, which returned it back to November 11th, starting in 1978. So we all know that Veterans Day is to recognize all living and dead individuals that served in our armed forces in times of war or peace. All right, so that's Veterans Day. Now, Memorial Day, interesting, originally called Decoration Day. All right, it started on May 1st, 1865, to honor 257 dead Union soldiers. All right, so the information on that is, if I can read this, Memorial Day started by honoring Memorial Day started, it was, if I could read this, started by former slaves on May 1st, 1865 in Charleston, South Carolina, to honor 257 dead Union soldiers who had been buried in a mass grave in a Confederate prison. They dug up the bodies and worked for 2 weeks to give them proper burials as gratitude for fighting for their freedom. They also had a parade of 10,000 people led by 2,800 black children where they marched, sang, and celebrated. Interesting. Very interesting. So, May 5th, 1868, General Logan asked for a Remembrance Day for Decoration Day. And the reason, and what he did was to decorate the graves of those that had died. May 30th, 1865 was going to be that day. And a kind of funny thing about that is the reason May was chosen, because originally it would have been, they talked about doing it back in the late fall, but there were no flowers that they would have had been able to decorate, the graves. I mean, you couldn't go down to Jewel or Mariano's and pick up a dozen whatever and throw them on their grave, So they had to wait till the flowers were actually more available. Then in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act in order to create 3-day weekends for federal employees. It also changed the name to Memorial Day and took effect in 1971. December 2000, Congress passed a law requiring each Memorial Day a moment of remembrance is observed at 3 p.m. So another silent moment. So, but there was a lot of different towns, up to 20 different towns that claimed that they had the first Memorial Day, the birthplace of Memorial Day. Now, we already heard about South Carolina, where the slaves honored the Union soldiers that were buried in a mass grave. But in 1966, the federal government declared Waterloo, New York, as the birthplace of Memorial Day. Two places that really had more claim to it, believe it or not, was Boardsburg, PA, and Carbondale, Illinois. I'm sure there's a little bit of politics involved in some of this, So on Memorial Day, what are some of the things that happens on Memorial Day? If you notice, the VFW is out, and they also call it Red Poppy Day. These poppies are worn and given out by the VFW for donations to their organization. You'll see them at the corners now, the poppy, and if you ever see a poppy hanging in a car, you'll know why. That's where they get it from. But why red poppies? Well, this is why. In 1915, the flower could be seen growing. The first thing that was seen growing in the battlefields across France and Flanders. Okay, what was Flanders? Flanders was northern Belgium. So for all that land that was devastated during World War I and all the trench warfare and stuff like that, as the hostilities stopped, these poppies started growing in the fields. And yes, that's where the poem In Flanders Field comes from. All right. And again, Memorial Day is to remember those that died serving in our armed forces. So that's a little bit of history about those two. I don't really know a lot of the history about Armed Forces Day, but I'm sure someone much smarter than I, or you can just look it up, can figure that out. And Women's Veterans Day, I have no idea where that came from. But ladies, we still honor you on Veterans Day also. So just remember, Memorial Day honors those that died while in service to our country. Veterans Day honors all veterans that served in our armed forces during war and peacetime. Armed Forces Day celebrates those that are currently serving in our armed forces. And then Women's Veterans Day is observed in several states to honor women who have served in our military. So there you go, in a nutshell. But anyhow, I have to say since I was not a veteran myself, or am not a veteran myself, I never served in the military. Thank all of you that did, all of you, no matter if it was 2, 4, or 30 years. I know a lot of you out there that watch these videos were lifers in the military, and my hat's off to you for all you've done, and to your families, because we all know, those of us that were either policemen, firemen, or in the military, our families were the ones that really, really need the thank yous, because they survived without us for a lot of our years in service. So thank you, veterans. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, subscribers. Really appreciate it. I hope you pass this video on to your friends and families and neighbors and people you like and people you don't like. Like it, please. It means it gets more playtime. And that's about it. And like what I always say when we end our video, always be aware of your surroundings, because you don't know what's going around you unless you're paying attention. 2, make sure you have plenty of food, water, medicine, and other essentials, whether you bug out or shelter in place. And please, please prep like your life depends on it, because it does. Thanks a lot. See you in the next video.